The moment they announced the results, I knew my life was over. First place in the national mathematics competition goes to Lily Chen. The auditorium erupted in applause as my best friend stood up, tears streaming down her face in what everyone believed was joy. But I saw the truth in her eyes, the cold satisfaction of a perfectly executed plan. I remained frozen in my seat, watching her accept my trophy, my scholarship to Princeton, my future. The judges smiled warmly as she clutched the certificate that should have borne my name. Behind me, I could hear the whispers starting. I can't believe Sarah got disqualified. They found her using unauthorized materials during the exam. Such a shame. I really thought she had a chance. The false evidence Lily had planted destroyed everything I'd worked for. The cheat sheet they claimed to find in my examination room, covered in my handwriting, filled with formulas I'd supposedly smuggled in, had sealed my fate. The disgrace was complete. No university would accept me now. No scholarship committee would even look at my application. As security escorted me from the building, Lily caught my eye one last time. Her lips curved into the faintest smile, and she mouthed words only I could see. You should have known your place. The weeks that followed were a nightmare of shame and isolation. My parents, devastated by the scandal, could barely look at me. My teachers, who had once praised my potential, now avoided me in the hallways. The media coverage was brutal. Gifted students cheating scandal shocks academic community. My future crumbled like ash in my hands. But the worst part wasn't the public humiliation. It was the private moments when Lily would visit, playing the role of the concerned best friend. She'd sit on my bed, holding my hand, whispering false comfort. I'm so sorry this happened to you, Sarah. I know you didn't mean for it to go this far. Maybe it's for the best. You were under so much pressure. Each word was a knife twist. She knew exactly what she'd done, and she was savouring every moment of my destruction. The final blow came 3 months later. I'd been working as a cashier at a grocery store, my dreams of studying advanced mathematics replaced by the monotony of scanning barcodes and counting change. That's when I saw the news article on my phone during my break. Local genius Lily Chen wins International Mathematics Olympiad using revolutionary problem-solving techniques. Revolutionary techniques. The same methods I'd developed during our study sessions. The same approaches I'd shared with her, trusting that my best friend would never betray me. She hadn't just stolen my victory. She'd stolen my very thoughts, my innovations, my mathematical breakthroughs. I was walking home that night, tears blurring my vision, when the truck ran the red light. The last thing I saw before everything went black was Lily's face on the newspaper stand, smiling, victorious, wearing the success that should have been mine. Then I opened my eyes to the sound of my alarm clock blaring. 6:30 a.m. The red digital numbers seemed impossible. I sat up in bed, my heart pounding, staring at my childhood bedroom, the same pink wallpaper, the same mathematics textbooks scattered across my desk, the same photo of Lily and me at last year's science fair pinned to my bulletin board. This couldn't be real. I had died. I remembered the impact, the crushing pain, the darkness. But here I was, in my 17-year-old body, surrounded by the remnants of my former life. My hands trembled as I reached for my phone. March 15th, 2023. The date was exactly 6 months before the National Mathematics competition. 6 months before Lily destroyed my life. The bedroom door burst open and my mother appeared with her usual morning energy. "Sarah, honey, you'll be late for school. Lily's already here. She's waiting for you downstairs." My blood turned to ice. Lily. She was here, in my house, probably preparing another phase of her elaborate plan. But this time, I knew what was coming. I dressed quickly, my mind racing through possibilities. How was this possible? Had I somehow travelled back in time? Was this a dream? A hallucination in my final moments of life? It didn't matter. What mattered was that I had been given a second chance, a chance to prevent the betrayal, to protect myself, to turn the tables on the person who had destroyed me. I walked downstairs slowly, each step deliberate. There she was, sitting at our kitchen table, her dark hair pulled back in a neat ponytail, her school uniform perfectly pressed. She looked up when she saw me, and that familiar smile, the one I'd once found comforting, now made my skin crawl. "Sarah, good morning," she chirped, her voice sickeningly sweet. "I brought you something that might help with today's exam." She held up a folded piece of paper, and my heart stopped. The cheat sheet. The very document that would later be discovered in my examination room. The evidence that would destroy my reputation and steal my future. In my previous life, I had accepted it gratefully, touched by what I believed was her thoughtfulness. I had even thanked her for being such a wonderful friend. This time, I knew better. "Oh, this?" I said, taking the paper from her hands. Our eyes met, and for just a moment, I saw confusion flicker across her face. Something in my expression must have been different, sharper, more knowing than she expected. Without hesitation, I tore the cheat sheet in half, then in half again, and again until the pieces were too small to be readable. Lily's mouth fell open. "Sarah, what are you doing? I spent hours making that for you." "I don't need it," I said calmly, letting the paper fragments fall like snow onto the kitchen floor. "I never needed it." The panic in her eyes was immediate and unmistakable. This wasn't part of her plan. In the original timeline, I had carefully folded that cheat sheet and tucked it into my backpack, never suspecting that she had already photographed it, already prepared copies for the examination proctors to discover. But now her planted evidence was destroyed, and she was scrambling to understand what had gone wrong. "But, Sarah," she stammered, "the exam is so important. I just wanted to help you succeed. We're best friends. I'd do anything for you." The words were the same ones she'd used before, but now I could hear the manipulation underneath. The false concern, the calculated performance of friendship designed to make me vulnerable, grateful, dependent. "Funny," I said, meeting her gaze directly. "I was just thinking the same thing about friendship, about how real friends don't sabotage each other." Her face went pale. I don't know what you mean." "Don't you?" I picked up my backpack, slinging it over my shoulder. "Come on, Bestie. We wouldn't want to be late for school." As we walked toward the door, I could feel her eyes boring into my back. I knew she was trying to figure out how much I knew, how much I suspected. The beautiful thing was, she couldn't ask without revealing her own guilt. The game had begun again. But this time, I held all the cards. Outside, the morning sun felt different on my skin, warmer, more hopeful. Birds sang in the trees lining our suburban street, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I smiled. Not the broken, desperate smile of my previous life, but something sharp and determined. Lily chatted nervously as we walked, her usual confident demeanour cracking with each step. She kept glancing at me sideways, as if trying to read my thoughts, to understand what had changed overnight. If only she knew. If only she realised that her victim had become her hunter, that her prey now stalked her instead. The irony was delicious. By the time we reached school, I had made my decision. I wouldn't just prevent her betrayal, I would expose it. I would turn her own weapons against her and show the world exactly what kind of person lurked behind that sweet, helpful facade. The National Mathematics competition was still 6 months away. That gave me plenty of time to plan, to gather evidence, to prepare my counterattack. This time, when the results were announced, there would only be one name called for first place, mine. And Lily Chen would learn exactly what it felt like to have her entire world crumble around her. The next few days were a masterclass in deception, but this time I was the one pulling the strings. I watched Lily like a hawk, cataloguing every interaction, every glance, every seemingly innocent suggestion. Armed with the knowledge of what she had done in my previous life, I could see the patterns I'd missed before. It started with small things. During our study sessions in the library, I noticed how she always positioned herself to see my work, how she took photos of my notes for reference, how she asked probing questions about my problem-solving methods. In my first life, I'd been flattered by her interest. Now, I recognized it as intellectual theft. "Sarah, that's such a brilliant approach to optimization problems," she gushed after I explained my latest breakthrough. "Could you walk me through it again? I want to make sure I understand every step." I smiled sweetly and began explaining, but this time I gave her false information. Subtle errors that would sabotage anyone who tried to use my methods. "The key is to start with the derivative at negative infinity," I lied smoothly, "and then work your way backward through the polynomial." She nodded eagerly, scribbling notes. I could practically see the gears turning in her mind, already planning how to present her revolutionary technique to the competition judges. But my real investigation began that weekend, when I volunteered to help her organise her bedroom, something the old trusting Sarah had done many times before. This time, I knew what to look for. While Lily was in the bathroom, I quickly searched her desk drawers. There, hidden beneath a stack of fashion magazines, I found them. Detailed folders labelled with dates, each containing photocopies of my homework, my practice exams, my original research notes. Some bore her handwriting in the margins, notes about which techniques would be most impressive to judges, which problems would showcase her abilities best. My hand shook as I flipped through the evidence of her systematic betrayal. She had been stealing from me for over a year, documenting my every mathematical innovation. But what made my blood run cold was the folder labelled Competition Strategy. Inside were printed emails between Lily and someone named Marcus Webb, a name I didn't recognise from my previous life. The correspondence was damning. "Marcus, the target is more brilliant than we anticipated. Her methodology could revolutionise applied mathematics. We need to ensure she's eliminated from consideration before anyone realises the techniques originated with her." Understood. The planted evidence will be indisputable. Make sure she's grateful for your help so she accepts the materials willingly. Already taken care of. She trusts me completely. Sometimes I almost feel bad about what we're doing to her, but the scholarship money is too good to pass up. Scholarship money. My chest tightened as I read further. Marcus Webb was offering Lily $50,000, not just for winning the competition, but for ensuring I was disqualified in disgrace. This wasn't just academic rivalry, it was a paid assassination of my future. I photographed every document with my phone, my hand steady despite the rage building inside me. When Lily returned from the bathroom, I was sitting innocently on her bed, flipping through her chemistry textbook. "Find anything interesting?" she asked, and I caught the slight tension in her voice. "Just admiring your organisation skills," I replied truthfully. "You're so good at keeping track of things." Over the following weeks, I played the role of the oblivious victim perfectly while conducting my own investigation. I discovered that Marcus Webb was actually Dr. Marcus Webb, a professor at Riverside University who had been denied tenure 3 years earlier due to allegations of research theft. He'd been recruiting gifted high school students to steal work from their peers, then selling the innovations to private companies. Lily wasn't his only agent. Through careful social media stalking and a fake email account, I uncovered an entire network of academic saboteurs working under his direction. They targeted students in mathematics, physics, and engineering, the most commercially valuable fields. But I was special. According to the emails I intercepted, Dr. Webb believed my mathematical breakthroughs could be worth millions in patent applications and corporate consulting contracts. That's why they developed such an elaborate plan to destroy me specifically. The irony was beautiful. In trying to steal my work, they'd created a paper trail that would destroy them all. Meanwhile, I began preparing my counterattack. Every study session with Lily became an opportunity to feed her false information. I created fake research notes filled with mathematical errors and left them where she could photograph them. I discussed fictional breakthroughs in casual conversation, watching her eyes light up with greed. "I think I've solved the Harrison conjecture," I told her one afternoon, referencing a famous unsolved problem. The solution involves treating the equation as a 17-dimensional hyperspace rather than traditional Euclidean geometry. Complete nonsense, but Lily nodded sagely and immediately excused herself to use the bathroom, where I knew she was frantically texting Dr. Webb about this incredible discovery. 3 weeks into my campaign of disinformation, the first crack appeared in Lily's composure. She cornered me after calculus class, her usual sweet smile strained at the edges. "Sarah, I've been thinking about some of the techniques you've been sharing with me," she said carefully. "I tried working through a few problems, using your methods, but I'm getting strange results." "Strange how?" I asked innocently. "Well, the 17-dimensional approach to the Harrison conjecture. When I try to verify the solution, the mathematics don't seem to work out." I widened my eyes in fake surprise. "Really? That's so odd. Let me double-check my work." I pulled out a notebook and began scribbling random equations, frowning as if genuinely puzzled. "You know what? I think I made an error in my calculations. Good thing you caught it." The relief on her face was palpable, but I could see the doubt creeping in. She was beginning to question whether my other innovations were equally flawed. That weekend, I took my investigation to the next level. Using the fake email account I'd created, I reached out to Dr. Webb directly, pretending to be a student at a different school interested in his academic consulting services. His response was swift and revealing. He outlined his entire operation in detail, apparently confident that he was speaking to a potential recruit. He explained how he identified targets, how he trained his student agents, how he monetized stolen research. He even bragged about his upcoming major acquisition, clearly referring to my work. But the most valuable information came when he mentioned his other clients. Dr. Webb wasn't just stealing from students. He was selling their innovations to Hexton Industries, a major tech corporation known for aggressive patent acquisition. The CEO, Robert Hexton, was apparently a personal friend who paid premium prices for promising mathematical research. Now, I had the full picture. This wasn't just about the national mathematics competition. It was about intellectual property theft on a massive scale, with my breakthrough techniques serving as the centerpiece of a criminal enterprise. The final piece of the puzzle came from an unexpected source. My younger brother, David, he'd always been good with computers, and when I casually mentioned that I suspected someone was accessing my school email account, he offered to help me investigate. "Your password's been cracked," he announced after running some diagnostic software. "Someone's been reading your emails for months. They've also installed keylogger software on your laptop." My laptop, the one Lily had borrowed to work on a group project 2 months ago. The same laptop where I'd stored all my research notes, my competition preparation materials, my private correspondence with my academic mentors. "Can you trace where the access is coming from?" I asked. David's fingers flew across his keyboard. "Got it. The IP address traces to Lily Chen's home network." The evidence was complete. I had documented proof of Dr. Webb's criminal operation, Lily's systematic theft of my work, and Hexton Industries' knowing purchase of stolen intellectual property. I had screenshots of incriminating emails, photographs of hidden files, and technical evidence of computer hacking. But I wasn't ready to reveal my hand yet. The national mathematics competition was still 4 months away, and I wanted to let them think their plan was proceeding smoothly. The longer they believed they were in control, the more evidence they would generate, and the more devastating their eventual downfall would be. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about justice and revenge. In my previous life, I'd been destroyed by these people's greed and betrayal. They'd stolen not just my work, but my dreams, my reputation, my very future. This time, I would be the one taking everything from them. I smiled in the darkness. Phase 2 of my plan was about to begin, and by the time I was finished, Lily Chen and Dr. Marcus Webb would learn exactly what happened to people who tried to steal from Sarah Mitchell. The game had become so much bigger than a simple competition. Now it was war. With 2 months remaining until the national mathematics competition, I launched the most sophisticated revenge plot of my young life. Every move was calculated, every word carefully chosen to manipulate my enemies into destroying themselves. My first target was Dr. Marcus Webb himself. Using my fake email identity as Jennifer Walsh, I arranged to meet him at a coffee shop near Riverside University. I wore a blonde wig and sunglasses, posing as a desperate honour student whose scholarship depended on winning an upcoming physics competition. Dr. Webb was exactly what I'd expected. A middle-aged man with thinning hair and hungry eyes, practically salivating at the prospect of another victim to exploit. He leaned forward as I spun my tale of academic pressure and financial desperation. "I understand your situation completely, Jennifer," he said smoothly. "I've helped many talented students overcome similar challenges. The key is identifying your competition's weaknesses and ensuring they can't perform at their best." "You mean, like, sabotage?" I asked, widening my eyes innocently. "Such a harsh word," he chuckled. "I prefer strategic intervention. Tell me, who's your primary competition?" I pulled out a folder of fake documents, supposedly detailing my main rival's research. In reality, it was a carefully crafted trap mathematical theories that seemed brilliant on the surface, but contained fatal flaws that would expose anyone who tried to use them. Dr. Webb's eyes lit up as he examined the papers. "This is fascinating work. Your competition has real talent, but don't worry. With my help, you'll come out on top." He explained his standard fee structure. $20,000 up front, plus a percentage of any scholarship money I won. But what really interested me was his casual mention of his star student, who was about to make him very wealthy. "She's been working with me for over a year," he bragged. "Brilliant girl. Though she doesn't realise the full scope of our operation. After she wins the national mathematics competition, I'll have enough leverage to approach Hexton Industries with some truly revolutionary innovations." I recorded every word on my hidden phone app. Meanwhile, my psychological warfare against Lily intensified. I began dropping subtle hints about my new research directions, watching her scramble to keep up with my fictitious breakthroughs. The key was making her increasingly desperate to access my work while simultaneously feeding her false information. "I've been corresponding with Professor Eleanor Vasquez at MIT," I mentioned casually during one of our study sessions. "She thinks my work on recursive probability matrices could revolutionize cryptography." Lily's pencil snapped in her grip. Professor Vasquez was one of the most respected mathematicians in the world, and completely fictitious. But Lily didn't know that. I watched her frantically Google the name later, growing more frustrated when she couldn't find any MIT faculty member by that description. The beauty of my strategy was that it forced Lily to reveal her true nature. As she became more desperate to steal my work, her mask of friendship began to slip. She started making increasingly bold attempts to access my research, growing careless in her deception. She accidentally spilled coffee on my backpack and insisted on helping clean out my notes. She volunteered to type up my handwritten research papers to help me stay organised. She even suggested we have a sleepover so we could study together all night, which I knew was code for search through your belongings while you sleep. Each failed attempt made her more reckless, more obvious in her intentions. I began documenting these incidents with hidden cameras, building a comprehensive video record of her systematic attempts at intellectual theft. But my masterpiece was the fake research paper I planted for her to steal. Titled Revolutionary Applications of Nested Recursive Algorithms in Prime Number Theory. It was 20 pages of sophisticated-sounding mathematical nonsense that would impress any layperson but immediately expose itself as fraudulent to any real expert. I left printed copies strategically placed where Lily would find them, in my locker, tucked into my textbooks, even accidentally dropping a few pages near her desk. The bait was irresistible. Within days, I had video evidence of her photographing every page. The psychological pressure was clearly taking its toll. Lily's grades began to slip as she spent more time trying to decode my fabricated research than focusing on her legitimate studies. Dark circles appeared under her eyes. Her usually perfect appearance became dishevelled. Most tellingly, she started snapping at other students, the sweet, helpful facade cracking under the weight of her deception. "Why are you being so secretive lately?" she demanded after I politely declined to share my latest breakthrough in quantum mathematics. "We're supposed to be best friends." "I am sharing with you," I replied innocently. "I told you all about my work with recursive probability matrices just yesterday." "That's not real!" she exploded, then immediately caught herself. "I mean, I looked it up, and I couldn't find any research on that topic." I raised an eyebrow. "Why were you looking it up? I thought you trusted my work." The trapped look in her eyes was priceless. She'd just admitted to researching my discoveries instead of simply accepting them as a true friend would. But more importantly, she'd revealed that she'd already tried to verify the fake research I'd been feeding her. 2 weeks before the competition, I decided it was time to spring my next trap. I arranged for Lily to overhear a phone conversation between me and my supposed mentor at Princeton University. "Professor Johnson, I'm so grateful you're willing to review my competition entry," I said loudly, knowing Lily was eavesdropping from the hallway. "The panel of judges will be so impressed when they see the official Princeton endorsement of my work on 17-dimensional hyperspace applications." I could practically hear her heart racing through the wall. In her mind, I'd just revealed that my fake Harrison conjecture solution, the one she'd already incorporated into her own competition strategy, had been endorsed by Princeton University. She was trapped. Either admit she'd been stealing my work by questioning me about it, or proceed with presenting fraudulent mathematics to a panel of expert judges. She chose the latter, which was exactly what I'd hoped for. That night, she sent a frantic message to Dr. Webb, one I intercepted through my continued monitoring of her communications. "The target has Princeton backing her entry. Should we abort the sabotage plan?" Dr. Webb's response was swift and decisive. "Absolutely not. We've invested too much to back out now. Proceed as planned. Even if she has institutional support, the cheating scandal will destroy her credibility completely." Perfect. They were committed to their original strategy, which meant they would still attempt to plant evidence of cheating during the competition. But this time, I would be ready. My final manipulation targeted Hexton Industries directly. Using a sophisticated fake identity as a graduate student in applied mathematics, I reached out to Robert Hexton's office with a business proposal. I claimed to have developed breakthrough algorithms that could revolutionize data encryption, the same type of innovations Dr. Webb had been selling to the company. The response was immediate. Within 48 hours, I had a meeting scheduled with Hexton's head of research and development, Dr. Patricia Chen, who, ironically, turned out to be Lily's older sister. The family connection explained so much. Lily hadn't just stumbled into Dr. Webb's criminal network. She'd been recruited specifically because her sister worked for their primary client. The entire operation was a carefully orchestrated family conspiracy to profit from stolen student research. During my meeting with Dr. Chen, I presented the same fabricated research I'd been feeding to Lily and Dr. Webb. I watched her eyes widen with excitement as she examined the fraudulent mathematical proofs. "This is exactly the type of innovation Hexton Industries is looking for," she said eagerly. "When can you provide us with a complete technical specifications document?" "I'm planning to debut this research at the National Mathematics Competition," I replied innocently. "After I win, I'd be happy to discuss licensing arrangements." The trap was set. Dr. Patricia Chen now believed that the winning entry in the National Mathematics Competition would contain the revolutionary mathematics her company desperately wanted to acquire. She had no idea that the research was completely fictitious, or that her own sister was planning to present those same fraudulent theories as her original work. When the competition began, and Lily inevitably presented my fabricated mathematics as her own breakthrough, Dr. Chen would immediately recognize the material. The investigation that followed would expose not just Lily's plagiarism, but the entire criminal network involving her sister and Dr. Webb. As I put the finishing touches on my revenge plan, I felt a cold satisfaction settle over me. In my previous life, these people had destroyed me through careful manipulation and betrayal. They'd stolen my work, ruined my reputation, and left me with nothing. This time, I was the puppet master. Every string I'd pulled, every lie I'd told, every trap I'd set was designed to turn their own weapons against them. They thought they were the hunters, but they'd become the prey. The National Mathematics Competition was only 5 days away. Soon, the world would see Lily Chen for what she truly was, a fraud, a thief, and a criminal. And Dr. Marcus Webb would learn that some students fight back. Justice was coming, and it would be absolutely devastating. The day of the National Mathematics Competition dawned bright and clear, and I woke with the serene confidence of someone who held all the winning cards. After months of careful planning, manipulation, and evidence gathering, it was finally time to watch my enemies destroy themselves. I arrived at the convention centre early, wearing a simple blue dress that made me look younger and more innocent than my 17 years. The registration area buzzed with nervous energy as hundreds of the country's brightest mathematical minds prepared for battle. But only I knew that the real war would be fought outside the examination room. Lily found me near the coffee station, her face drawn with stress and exhaustion. She'd clearly been up all night, probably cramming the fraudulent research I'd fed her over the past months. Dark circles ringed her eyes, and her hands trembled slightly as she gripped her registration packet. "Sarah," she called out with forced brightness, "ready for the big day?" "Absolutely," I replied, smiling warmly. "I feel like all my preparation is finally going to pay off. How about you? I know you've been working so hard on your original research." The emphasis on original made her flinch slightly, but she maintained her facade. "Yes, I think I have some really innovative approaches to share. The judges are going to be impressed." If only she knew just how impressed they were going to be. At exactly 9 a.m, Dr. Webb appeared near the examination hall, disguised as a maintenance worker. In my previous life, I'd never noticed him, but now I recognized him immediately from our coffee shop meeting. He was carrying a small toolkit, undoubtedly containing the cheat sheet evidence he planned to plant in my exam area. But I had prepared for this moment. As he approached my assigned desk, I casually dropped my pen and bent to retrieve it, simultaneously activating the small recording device I'd hidden in my shoe. Every step he took, every movement he made was now being documented. The examination began at 10 a.m. sharp. The problems were challenging, but familiar. I'd seen variations of them in my previous life. But this time, I wasn't just competing to win. I was performing the final act of an elaborate revenge drama. As I worked through the complex equations, I could see Lily 3 rows ahead frantically scribbling answers based on the fake methodologies I'd taught her. She was presenting my fabricated 17-dimensional hyperspace solution to the Harrison conjecture with complete confidence, unaware that every line of mathematics was sophisticated nonsense. Halfway through the exam, I saw Dr. Webb make his move. Pretending to empty a wastebasket near my desk, he discreetly dropped a folded paper beneath my chair, the planted evidence that would supposedly prove I was cheating. But I was ready for him. As he turned to leave, I loudly called out, "Excuse me, sir, you dropped something." Every student in the room looked up as I held the cheat sheet high in the air. Dr. Webb's face went white with panic. He'd been caught red-handed attempting to plant evidence, and now dozens of witnesses had seen the entire incident. That's not mine," he stammered, backing away from my desk. "Really?" I said innocently, unfolding the paper. "It has my handwriting on it and all these mathematical formulas. Were you trying to help me cheat?" The examination proctor, Professor Williams from Harvard, strode over immediately. "What's going on here?" "This maintenance worker just tried to slip me answers to the exam questions," I explained, my voice carrying clearly across the silent room. "I think he's trying to sabotage the competition." Dr. Webb was immediately escorted from the building, while Professor Williams confiscated the planted evidence. But instead of disqualifying me, the incident actually worked in my favour. I was now seen as the honest student who had exposed a cheating scandal. The real fireworks began during the presentation phase. Lily went first, confidently presenting my fabricated research on revolutionary applications of nested recursive algorithms in prime number theory. She spoke eloquently about mathematical concepts that didn't actually exist, describing breakthrough methodologies that were complete fiction. The judges listened politely, taking notes, asking occasional questions that Lily answered with increasing desperation as she realised she couldn't adequately explain research she'd stolen rather than understood. But the knockout blow came when Dr. Patricia Chen entered the presentation room. As Hexton Industries' head of research and development, she'd been invited to observe the competition and identify promising young mathematicians for potential recruitment. Her face went through a fascinating series of expressions as she listened to her own sister present the exact same revolutionary mathematics that a mysterious graduate student had pitched to her company just days earlier. Confusion, recognition, and finally cold fury played across her features. When Lily finished her presentation, Dr. Chen stood up slowly. "Miss Chen," she said formally, her voice cutting through the room like ice, "I'm very interested in your research. Could you tell me where you first encountered these nested recursive algorithms?" Lily's confidence crumbled instantly. She couldn't claim the work was original without lying directly to her sister, but she couldn't admit to stealing it without exposing her crimes. It's based on collaborative research I've been doing with a study partner." "And who is this study partner?" Dr. Chen pressed. Every eye in the room turned to me. I stood up gracefully, my expression carefully neutral. "I think there's been some confusion," I said clearly. "Lily is presenting research that I created specifically to test whether someone was stealing my work. Every equation she just described is mathematically impossible. The entire theory is fraudulent." The silence that followed was deafening. Then chaos erupted, judges conferring urgently, competition officials demanding explanations, students whispering in shock. Dr. Chen's voice cut through the noise like a blade. "Security! I need to speak with both of these students immediately, and someone call the FBI. we have a case of systematic intellectual property theft. The investigation that followed moved with stunning speed. My months of evidence gathering, the recorded conversations, the photographed documents, the intercepted emails, provided law enforcement with everything they needed to build an airtight case. Within hours, Dr. Marcus Webb was arrested at his apartment, charged with conspiracy to commit fraud, computer hacking, and intellectual property theft. Lily was taken into custody that same evening, her face a mask of disbelief and terror as the handcuffs clicked shut around her wrists. But the sweetest moment of all came during my own presentation to the judges. With Lily's fraud exposed and my true abilities finally recognised, I presented my genuine mathematical breakthroughs, the real innovation she had tried so desperately to steal. Ladies and gentlemen, I began, my voice steady and confident, I'd like to present my work on adaptive algorithmic optimization in multidimensional probability spaces. The mathematics I shared that day was revolutionary, not the fictional nonsense I'd used to trap my enemies, but genuine breakthroughs that pushed the boundaries of current understanding. The judges listened with growing amazement as I explained concepts that would eventually earn me publications in 3 major academic journals. When I finished, Professor Williams stood and began applauding. The rest of the panel joined him, and soon the entire room was on its feet. In that moment, I felt the vindication I'd been denied in my previous life, the recognition of my true abilities, the acknowledgement of my genius. "Miss Mitchell," Professor Williams said when the applause died down, "in 30 years of judging mathematical competitions, I have never seen work of this calibre from someone your age. You've just redefined what we thought was possible in applied mathematics." The first place trophy was mine, of course. But more importantly, so was the full scholarship to Princeton, the research opportunities, and the bright future that Lily had tried to steal from me. As I stood on the winner's platform, holding the crystal award that sparkled in the convention centre lights, I smiled with cold satisfaction. 3 months later, sitting in my Princeton University dormitory, I received a letter from Lily Chen, writing from federal prison where she was serving her sentence for conspiracy and fraud. "Sarah," it began, "I know you'll probably never forgive me for what I did. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. But I wanted you to know that I understand now what I became, what jealousy and greed turned me into." I crumpled the letter without finishing it. Some apologies come too late to matter. That evening, as I worked on a research paper that would eventually revolutionize quantum computing, I reflected on my journey. 6 months earlier, I had died broken and defeated, my dreams shattered by betrayal. But somehow I'd been given a second chance, and I had used that chance not just to reclaim my stolen future, but to ensure that justice was served. Lily Chen had tried to steal my future, but in the end, she had only managed to steal her own. While she served her prison sentence, I was living the life she had coveted, studying at an elite university, conducting groundbreaking research, building relationships with brilliant peers who respected my abilities. As I looked toward the future, towards graduate school, toward groundbreaking research, towards a career that would push the boundaries of human knowledge, I smiled. This time, I had won completely, and it felt absolutely perfect. The betrayers had faced the exact fate they'd intended for me: complete destruction of their futures, public disgrace, and the loss of everything they'd worked for. Meanwhile, I had claimed not just victory, but total vindication. Justice, it turned out, was indeed sweet.